Hello, parents. This is Valerie Abrahamian with Advocates for Angels, and I'm the IEP navigator, and I help parents get the education their child needs to thrive both in school and in life after high school. Today's Facebook Live is entitled, What's Good in the Classroom is what's good online is good in the classroom, and what's good in the classroom is good online. So, in other words, what we get in the classroom on our child's IEP, we can get online in virtual schooling. That's my message to you parents today. And really, I just want to bring forward to you parents that it's really time to find your voice. Last Monday's Facebook Live was entitled just that, Find Your Voice. Because parents, we're planning for our child's new year of education in a very unknown future. So where are we at today? So many school districts have already announced what's going to happen in the fall. Many school districts have not announced yet what's going to happen in the fall. So it's very uncertain. Some parents are still wondering what's going to happen, but the bottom line is there's three options. Either districts are going to open fully, full back attendance on the school grounds, in the school buildings, or they're going to open partially in a hybrid model where kids will go to school partially during the week and partially receive a virtual schooling at home. That's a hybrid program, or they're going to not open at all and it's going to continue on a virtual schooling model. So those are the three options that districts are choosing. So now I'm going to talk about one particular school district just as an example. So I know parents from all over the nation watch this Facebook Live, and so it's very difficult to address everything. I mean, even state to state, district to district, neighboring districts right next door are doing completely different things. So there's no blanket, this is what's going to happen. It depends on your particular school district. It depends on your particular superintendent and the board, and how they're working with their teachers union and the contracts they're developing and moving forward for next school year. So that's what is driving your particular district's decisions for how they're going to open next year. If you didn't know that, parents, that's how it's decided, and that's what's moving forward. So in talking about a local school district here in Southern California, which I refer to a lot because that's where I have the bulk of my clients and where I live for 30 years, and my kids grew up there, and that's CNUSD, the Corona Norco Unified School District, as an example. So now this district sent out last week a very large announcement, a long letter identifying they are going to reopen fully. And they are going to implement the CDC guidelines for safety for the virus. And they are going to also offer parents an option if they do not want to send their child back to school, that they have the option for virtual schooling. So now I want to break that down because a lot of these things you can apply to your own situation, even if you're not in that particular district. So in opening fully, what's that going to look like? Or even say we open in a hybrid model and you're in school half of the time. So to open fully, every district must follow the CDC guidelines in that particular county and that particular state. But overall, everyone has to follow. The children have to wear masks from the second they get out of the car till they get back. Take them back in the car to take them home, or till they get off the bus and go into their home. They have to wear a mask. Number two, they're going to have their temperatures taken the second they walk in the door. Number three, they're going to be required to social distance and stay 10 feet away from their peers. And I mentioned this at my town hall meeting last Wednesday night in Ohio. The governor has announced that he is going to require children to wear tracking bracelets. So when they walk in the door and they get their temperature taken and they get their mask put on, they're going to have a bracelet put on their wrists, which is going to track them throughout the day to gather information on which children are social distancing properly, how they are reacting to these rules and regulations that are enforced upon them with these CDC requirements to attend back to school in school buildings, and they're going to have to be tracked. So that's one state that has enacted that so far, and I assume other states are going to follow that regulation. So now let's look at our children on IEPs. How are our children going to respond to this kind of a regime and requirements to go back to attend school grounds? How are our children going to learn with masks on their face? How are some children even going to tolerate a mask on their face? Now, there is a guideline that just came out recently that says that some children with certain disabilities that cannot tolerate a mask, they're going to be waived, or they're going to be exempt from wearing a mask. But you're going to have to take some steps to say my child should be waived or exempt from wearing a mask because, and show the reasons why your child wouldn't be able to wear a mask. So that there is a way to address that particular thing with the mask. But on the other hand, the teacher is always going to be wearing a mask, absolutely, every second of the day. So we got to think about learning. We got to think about communication. We got to think about social skills and how our children are going to advance and progress in their social skills when children are 6 feet apart and they're wearing masks. And the focus is going to be on safety and on these kinds of rules to remain in school safely. So that is the school option, going back to school. Now let's look at the homeschool option, or the virtual schooling option. If you choose the virtual schooling option, in this particular school district, he made it very clear that the virtual schooling model is going to look like a packaged schooling model. So you're going to get a package deal. You're going to get a one size fits all for each class. Here's the curriculum for that class. Here you go, parents. You get to be the teacher again. So it's going to look just like March, April, May, and June of last year, where parents, you're going to be required again to teach your child, to be the special ed teacher, to be the one-on-one aide, to be the behavioralist, to do these things. And if you don't make sure that you get your services, if you have designated instructional services or related services, such as occupational therapy, speech and language therapy, APE, physical therapy, whatever it might be, ABA, applied behavioral analysis, or any kind of behavioral intervention, behavior intervention plan, psychologist, whatever it may be, you are going to have to drive that and make sure you receive those services, because many students did not receive their services last year. It was a complete runaround with what were the requirements. Were the districts obligated to provide services? And yes, they absolutely were obligated, parents, to provide your services, because IDEA was not waived. Secretary DeVos did not waive IDEA. That therefore your IEP remains in place, and your child is obligated, the district is obligated to provide your child with all of your services. So if you did not receive your services in March, April, May, or June, your child is owed those services, which is compensatory services or compensatory education. The same with SAI. Specialized academic instruction. If you were to receive specialized academic instruction for a certain amount of minutes in that school day, and your teacher did not get online and teach your child the individualized goals, working on the goals and objectives and individualized instruction for your particular child based on your child's IEP, you are owed those individual minutes from a special ed teacher as well. So moving forward, if you are pick the virtual model in this particular school district, he's made it very clear that it's going to be a packaged list of a curriculum. I don't know what that will look like, but as we all know, the end of the school year, parents were provided lists, massive amounts of resources, lists, links, webinars, videos for them to look at and for them to instruct their child on their own without the support or live instruction from a teacher, and without receiving services. So he has basically announced that the same thing is going to be implemented for next school year. So both options are not good options for our kids on an IEP. So what's my point? That's not a very good outlook, right? That's very depressing for us parents. And this is why it's so important. What I'm trying to, get across to parents is it's time, parents, to find your voice. It's time to learn how to hold your school district accountable to getting your child the education they deserve, that they require, that they need, and that is endowed to them under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Your IEP is still in effect and should still be implemented, no matter what the decision is moving forward in the new year. Your child should be receiving their IEP, whether it is in school or whether it is online. That's why my topic of the day, what's good in the classroom is good online, because it does not matter if it's in the classroom or if it's virtually, it's the same thing. You should be receiving the IEP in a virtual manner or an alternative method per the Congress guidelines. The Congress guidelines were that school districts and parents are to work collaboratively and creatively together to make sure that the child receives their IEP in very creative manners in an alternative method. So however that's going to be, you are to receive your IEP. So the other thing I wanted to say was, a lot of parent attorneys and advocates that represent children on IEPs, they're having this very discussion that I'm presenting to you today, that, looks like our kids are pretty much screwed going back into the new year, and that parents are going to have to learn really quickly how to advocate, how to step into their power as an equal IEP team participant, how to hold school districts accountable to making sure their child receives the education they need and the IEP is implemented, and that, but in terms of how are we going to hold school districts accountable, a lot of them are, talking about for general ed kids. Hey, if in a district 40% or close to 40% of parents pull their kids and say, we're not sending our kids to school, we're going to homeschool our kids and disenroll their kids, that school district is going to have to listen and take note and do something very quickly, because districts won't be able to maintain if a large amount of parents pull their child. Okay, so that's for general ed kids, because believe me, general ed kid parents are just as concerned as we are, only we're in a worse situation because we have special needs children who have much more needs and need more support in order to access an education and in order to learn. But, for us to pull our kid and homeschool our kid, that's just going to be shooting ourselves in the foot, because if we pull our kid, then that means we lose our services. That means we lose our IEP. Now, yes, there are ways for you to get your IEP and to get some services, but it requires a whole heck of a lot of advocacy, and you have to really know what you're doing. You probably need the assistance of an advocate or an attorney in order to maintain your IEP in a homeschool model. So that is really not a very good alternative for the masses of parents on an IEP. But for a general ed, yeah, that's it. That's because if we're in a virtual model and general ed kids, and they're basically not providing anything online, and they're just throwing the curriculum at parents and expecting parents to teach, why not have that general ed kid pulled and disenrolled from that district and that parent homeschool? You're going to get more support from a homeschool program than you are from the district if they're going to continue to be the same as they were last year. So going further into this, to understand, what's really happening here, is that in this particular district, we know that this superintendent has chosen not to train the teachers adequately on what an equitable virtual schooling model would look like. So not to lay down very strong guidelines on teachers. You are required to get online and teach live classes virtually every day, or every time you were to have a class. These are your requirements as a teacher. These are your requirements in how virtual must look like. It's still very muddied. It's still unclear. There's no clear guidelines. In fact, here's the one size fits all box curriculum. Here, parents, you go ahead and do that if you want virtual schooling. So and we know that virtual is in our future, whether it be a hybrid model or whether we have an increase with the numbers again and schools shut down again. It could happen any moment. We have no idea what our future holds. So you would think that a district admin that is preparing, being proactive, making sure their kids are going to learn and through another pandemic, through another situation where we might be faced with another virtual situation, that they would have trained their teachers with fidelity, that they would have trained kids how to access curriculum online, trained parents how to understand technology to assist their children to get online, and that this would have started way back in April, May, June. Here we are in July, and still training has not, that kind of training. Yeah, they did a couple, here's some trainings, teachers, when it was happening in April, May, and June. But I'm talking, there are massive amounts of resources, trainings, websites, Zoom links from every agency, from ABA agencies, speech and language agencies, educational agencies, all of the different educational disciplines and services that are teaching, hey, this is how you do it this is how you provide an equitable distance learning model for speech and language. This is how you would train your teachers with fidelity, how to teach online with an education model, these kinds of things. Yet that has not taken place in this school district. So he is not choosing to train teachers with fidelity. He's not supporting his teachers. He's not giving clear guidelines. He still hasn't provided many kids with a device because of the way that the survey went out. It wasn't clear that parents had to clearly ask, yes, I want a device for my special needs child and an IEP. So this is the situation that we're sitting in right now in the middle of July when we're getting ready to open in August, and this is what we're looking at for next school year. So parents, I just wanted you to have all of this information. I want you to understand the situation because many parents are still sitting back and going, well, I hope they figure it out. Well, I hope it's going to be okay. Well, I think it has to get better. It's going to get better. I believe it's going to get better. But parents, this is the truth. This is the picture that we are looking at for the fall. And all I can say is the parents that are going to sit back and wait, those children are not going to receive their IEP. Your child is going to go a full school year without an education. Your child is going to continue to regress and fall behind. And those educational minutes and hours cannot be made up. Because when you think about it, how are you going to make up a whole half of a semester to a year of services or instruction? It's not going to happen, parents. So the longer you wait, the longer the what's owed to you continues to stack up. And whether are you really going to get that back? Are you really going to have the district agree to? If you don't understand how to ask for comp ed, how to write the right letters and emails and document your requests properly in parent agendas, ask for an IEP in the proper way, prepare for your IEP, and make sure that it's documented in your IEP, what you're requesting and how to request it, then it's absolutely not going to happen. Because you have to think about, too, parents, that, okay, when you think about, let's just take again CNUSD as an example, they have 7,500 children on an IEP in that particular school district. So if you think about it, most of those kids on IEPs did not receive their related services for speech, OT, and whatever else it may be, ABA or whatever it may be. So we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that are owed to those students. That district is not going to make up those services. They absolutely are not going to do that unless you know how to request that and hold them accountable to do so. So, and this is another reason why I've created my parent membership. It's a monthly membership where I teach parents how to do just that. So the parents that want to find their voice, want to learn how to advocate, and want to prepare for next school year moving forward with information, and that's why I do it, is because parents need to be informed and they need to be empowered. Because if you're not informed, parents, and you're not empowered with the fact that you are an equal IEP team participant, your child is not going to receive an education. And we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We don't know what the situation's going to be like, how the COVID thing's going to go, and how the virus is going to go. Hopefully, we're all praying for it to calm down and just we get back to some kind of a typical school schedule. But right now we know in our near future that's not happening. So we know that's going to take at least a year. At least the whole next 2020-2021 school year is going to be looking like this. So parents, that is my Facebook Live for today. And I hope you guys are all staying safe and staying well. And please ask me questions. Go on my Advocates for Angels page, like my page. I also have a private group page, Special Education Parent Empowerment Network. I would love you to join if you're a parent, and go in there and request to join. If you're a parent, you're in. And so, okay, guys, I will see you next Monday for my next Facebook Live.